Broadcasting live from SETI Alpha 6 in the Andromeda Galaxy, this is Mr. C.
8th graders, happy genetics fan to you. I'm sure you're a genetics fan. I think you'll enjoy the additional traits we're going to look at to see if you got them or not. We might even end up doing one or two that we've already done. But that's okay. You don't mind, of course. Okay, if you'll number 1 to 10 on that white sheet, I know you've got a white sheet, 1 to 10. So, and if you'll make sure you've got LS8 out, LS8. So, 1 to 10. I have 10 quick questions for you. Is this a pop quiz? No. Could we have a pop quiz tomorrow? You know how much I love giving Wednesday pop quizzes or not so pop quizzes. So you never know tomorrow. Never know. So what's our homework? You have got to do, you've got to really study. Your homework is to review LS8 really well. That's your only homework. Review LS8. I can do it. You better. Yeah, you had better. It's pretty important. So, just LS8. Okay, here are your 10 questions. Okay, 10 questions. Yes, indeed, I do have a pen in my pocket. All right. Now, you were already supposed to look over LS8. So here are my questions really quick. Okay? See how you do on this. This is purely for review. Okay? So, number 1, the passing on of physical characteristics from a parent to a child. What do you call that? That would be your, don't say it out loud. That would be the passing on of characteristics from a parent to my 3 children. And we actually have 2 in heaven. So 5 total. And then number 2, who was the very famous scientist? You read about him, you were supposed to read about him. Very famous scientist who we now call the father of genetics. Father of genetics. He did a lot of experiments with just ordinary pea plants in the garden of the monastery, where he ended up providing food for the other monks, Catholic monks, and on the side he was doing scientific research. Yes, he was a scientist. All right, number 3, what do you call any characteristic that you inherit or is passed on from a parent? It could be a parent plant, right, to an offspring. So what do we call any characteristic? And in your case, it would be like your height, your skin color, your hair color, your eye color. All of those are physical. What? Number 4, the scientific study of heredity. What is it called? Scientific study of heredity. All right. Number 5. What is the word we use to describe a factor that controls a trait? What do you call that? Any factor that controls a trait. I also described it as a chunk of DNA. Chunk of DNA. Now, these chunks of DNA can have different, how do I say this? They can be slightly different and cause a slightly different trait. So, for instance, you can have the same flavor of gene from your mom and dad, or you could have a different one from your mom and a different one from your dad. So, and then what happens? Well, then they sort out. One rules over the other one. So I'll get to that in a minute. So this is number, I got to get this right, This is 6. The flavor of a gene. For instance, like dark eyes or light colored eyes. You get different flavors of a gene that controls a factor. So that was 6. Number 7, what do you call it if you have the very same flavored gene from mom and dad? There's a name for that. Then what do you call that? And in that case, what kind of trait would it be? Like, let's say you get flavors of a gene to be tall from your mom and flavors of a gene to be tall from your dad. You can't help but be tall because you have the same flavor from mom and the same from dad. Okay. What do you call a ruling over characteristic? So let's say you get a flavor, like for instance, usually dark, in the case of hair color, eye color, skin color, rules over the lighter flavor. So let's say you get, dark from dad and light from mom. Dark usually rules over. So if you had a chance to say be blonde or to be, say, brown hair, okay? The brown hair is usually going to rule over the lighter color, usually. That kind of thing. Eye color, it's the same thing. So that's number 8, the ruling over one. It rules over. And number 9, what do you call the hidden flavor if it's hidden? So let's say you had a lighter, colored flavor of hair from your mom, darker from your dad, but you still have that lighter, and can you pass that on to your kiddos? Yes, you can. Yeah. So even though you had dark hair, could you cause your children to have lighter colored hair? Yeah. If they pass on a lighter color flavor and they get the same lighter color flavor from dad, then they could say be blonde. It's possible. Okay. So there is that. And then what do you call it if you end up having 2 different flavors of a gene for a trait? You don't have, say, both ruling over or both hidden flavors. So you've got 2 different ones. What do you call that? That's number 10. There's a name for that. Okay. So here you go. Let's see how you did on this. Now, I wouldn't expect anybody to get a perfect on this. And I'm going to tell you what exactly I want you to know from LS8 in just a minute. So here are your answers. What do we call the passing on of physical characteristics from parents to offspring? Heredity. Number 1 is heredity. And go ahead and circle that. Circle that. Highlight it. Either one. I don't care. Circle it on LS8. Heredity. It's at the top right there. And most of these are in bold print. So heredity. Who was the father of genetics? There he is right there, Gregor Mendel. He was a monk. I call him the little monk in the monastery. The monk in the monastery, Gregor Mendel. He was a Catholic monk. He ended up running the monastery eventually. He was a scientist. He had a scientific mind. I think the Catholic Church paid for his university training, and then he owed them by becoming a monk and living in the monastery. And at the same time, he did scientific research, genetic research on the side. Okay. Number 3, what do you call a trait you inherit? I said it incorrectly. What do you call a characteristic you inherit, like your height or eye color? That's a trait. So circle trait. Circle trait. And while I'm in the neighborhood, what do you call the scientific study of inheritance? There it is. Genetics. Genetics. I didn't get that to focus very well, did I? So far in LS8, you have circled or highlighted heredity, Gregor Mendel, trait, that's 1, 2, 3, and genetics, number 4. Number 5, what is a factor that controls a trait? That would be a gene, a chunk of DNA, a gene. It's in the top line in the bottom box. See that? That's number 5, gene. And number 6, what do you call the different forms, or I use the term flavor of a gene? There they are, right down there in the bottom. There you can see it, allele. See that? Allele. A-double-L-E-L-E, an allele. It's a form of a gene or a flavor. So you could have, for instance, you could have light colored hair alleles from one parent and dark from another parent. Okay, so there's 1 through 6. Number 7, what is it? Say you get light-haired, say, let's just pick, say, light-haired blonde alleles from your dad and then from your mom. So it's the same. What do you call it if you have the same alleles from mom and dad? That's purebred. Purebred, number 7. Right over here on the left side, purebred. See that? Purebred. And LS number 8 describes it this way. They have the same form of a trait or the same flavor of a trait. Number 7, purebred. Okay? And then down below in the bottom box on the right side, where one flavor rules over the other, that would be dominant. Dominant. A ruling over flavor. And then the hidden one that doesn't show up. For instance, if you have dark hair, it's possible that you could have a blonde allele, but it's hidden. It's covered up by what you got. So you got a dark allele for eye color, hair color, skin color, and it will rule over usually the lighter. Okay, so that would be recessive. Hidden, it's recessed or hidden. It's kind of out of the way. What do you call it if you have 2 different alleles for a trait? Let's say that you've got let's go stick with blonde. You've got blonde alleles from mom, blonde from dad. I said it incorrectly. Let's say you have both blonde and say dark hair, dark brown. So you've got both. That would make you a hybrid. Now I was looking for it in LS8. I was looking for it there. And it's I know it's in here, but I think it is right now recessed. It is hidden. It's in there somewhere. I will find it. But I wrote it down at the bottom. See that? Number 10 was hybrid. It's where you have 2 different flavors, 2 different forms of a gene. So you're writing that down, hybrid, writing it down. Friday's test will include LS8. Might not be very big, we'll see. So hybrid, where you have 2 different flavors or forms of a gene. Did you get it down? Mr. Gilbert's encouraging that right now. He's encouraging that. A hybrid. Okay. So now if you got a 10 out of 10, if you got a 10 out of 10 on this, put your first and last name on it and turn it in. If you got a 9 out of 10, those are A's. So turn it in if you want a grade on it. You don't have to, but turn it in if you want a grade on it. Name, date, period, upper right-hand corner. Make sure your name's on it. Okay, 2 things to go over, but first, I'm a little over in my break, so a little several minute break for Mr. Gilbert to take over and answer any questions that you might have. So, Mr. Gilbert, take it away. I'll be right back in a couple of minutes. And I'm back. Hey, I wanted to go over test number 7. I wanted to go over it just so you know the answers. Now, if you haven't taken it yet, make arrangements with Mr. Gilbert to take it. And if you haven't taken test 6, you've got to get that done. Get that in. You RLO students, if you have not sent to me test 6, and there are a few of you that have not, you need to get that sent to me. I need test 6 from you so I can grade it. And test 7, you need to send it to me. Okay, here are your answers really quick to test number 7. Psalm 139, 13 and 14, you had to nail it. You formed my inward parts, you knitted me together in my mother's womb, or in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. That's me, the wonderful work. Thank you, God. And my soul knows it very well. What do these verses say about your DNA? God designed your DNA. God designed your DNA. Isn't that cool? The Lord of the universe designed us. He wanted us to be like we are. Wow. We have been customized by the God of the universe. Wow. That's a big deal. That should make you feel good. It always did me when I realized, I probably was 20, when I first realized that God designed me genetically. I went, oh. And a number of the things that, let's just say, when I looked in the mirror that I wasn't totally signed on with, I went, hey, you're God and you're happy with the way you designed me? I'm happy. In fact, that makes me very happy. I can more than live with that God wanted me this way. I'm good with it. Yeah. In fact, I'm more than good with it. Gives me just a great feeling to know that God designed me. Number 4, cell division is also called fission. The 3 reasons that cells undergo cell division: GRR, grow, repair, reproduce. 8, 9, 10, most organisms reproduce when specialized cells from 2 different parents combine. So sperm plus egg gives you a zygote. Sperm, egg, zygote. 8, 9, and 10. Number 11, cell division of ordinary cells to heal, etc. That's called the cell cycle. The cell cycle. Number 12, the cells that come from ordinary cells are called daughter cells. So here we go. Cell division, daughter cells. 2 daughter cells right there. Okay, keep it going. 13, the cell division process is very complex. What does this complex process tell us? It had to be designed by God. It's too complicated. That's the point. 14, mitosis. Mitosis, remember, MN in the alphabet right after each other. M, mitosis, causes the nuclei to form. Exact copies of the nuclei. Exact copies. 15, replication is a stage of cell division that makes an exact copy of DNA. Replication, an exact copy of DNA. 16, genetics is a scientific study of heredity. 17, what's the root word of genetics? Gene. Gene, a chunk of DNA. Number 18, chunks of DNA are called genes. 18 genes. 19, pairs of many genes cause different characteristics like hair color to form. Each individual characteristic is known as a trait. 19 was trait. The long chains of DNA, all the chunks of DNA in humans, There's 23 from mom and 23 from dad, and they're called chromosomes. 21. During cell division, these chains of DNA pair up with the exact one knowing to pair up with its pair. How do they know which one to pair up with? That is part of the complex process that shows there has got to be a God who created everything. So remember what the geneticist said. I don't know anybody in the field of genetics who believes. Now they might not admit it because they don't want to be bagged out. They don't want to be ripped. They don't want to lose their jobs even. So they keep it to themselves. But when they do reveal it, they go, there's no way DNA formed by itself. No way. It's like the trump card. It's like, you're playing cards and you got 4 aces. There you go. 4 aces. DNA, it's like 4 aces. You win. God wins. Anyway, 22, the strongest individual creation evidence that God made is so massively complex, DNA. Okay. It should have read the strongest individual creation data that God made, or thing that I put that God made, DNA. It makes sense. It's good. It makes sense. Okay. So there it was. It was a shorty, only 22, right? Okay. Here are your answers to 79F, and then you're going to turn it in. Okay. Half each. And I'll deduct if the page numbers aren't there. I'll check out the page numbers. Okay. Now, write me a little note if I said, Mr. C, you said we didn't have to put the page number. I might have. I'm a little forgetful on this. Now, Mr. Gilbert will either go, yep, Mr. C said no page numbers. So you can write no page numbers on the top and initial it if Mr. G is giving you a thumbs up on that. It might be possible. All right, here it is. Number 1, the scientific study of heredity is called fertilization. No, it's not. It's false. It's genetics. Number 1, genetics. A hybrid organism is the offspring of many generations from the same form or flavor of a trait. No, it's not. It's purebred. Purebred. Number 3, capital letters are used to represent recessive alleles, ruling over alleles. Those are dominant. So 1, 2, and 3 are each false. Number 1, false, genetics. Number 2, false, purebred. Number 3, false, dominant. Number 4 is false as well. Mendel called an individual that has 1 dominant allele and 1 recessive allele for a trait purebred. It's hybrid. Number 4 is false, hybrid. 5 and 6 are true. Mendel said that the factors that control a trait exist in pairs. He was right. True. He was a smart guy to figure all this stuff out. He was a smart guy. We didn't even know about his research until after 1900, I think. He wrote scientific journals, but they remain undiscovered for many tens of years, maybe 50 years. It's kind of like they were recessive. They were hidden. Okay, number 7 now. What Mendel called factors are now called B as in Bravo genes. Number 7, B as in Bravo genes. Number 8, when parent plants are crossed, scientists refer to the first generation of offspring as D as in Delta F1. That's the F1 generation. F1. Number 8, D as in Delta F1. 9, a seed can be rounded or wrinkled. Seed shape is A as in alpha, a trait. Number 9, A as in alpha. Number 10, the allele for a hybrid tall pea plant is represented, it's hybrid, so it's represented as big T, little t. Big T, little t. The capital T is dominant. The the lowercase t is the recessive. Okay? Big T, little t, bravo for number 10. Here are your answers again. 1 through 6, genetics, purebred, dominant, hybrid, those are all false. 5 and 6 are true. 7, B as in Bravo. 8, D as in Delta. 9, A as in Alpha. And 10, B as in Bravo. Half a point each. 5 total. Number right over 5. Number right over 5. Okay, don't even think about passing that in yet until in the upper right-hand corner, right up there, you've got first and last name, date, period. Put it up there, name, date, period. Don't turn it in until you've got name, date, period on it. Pass it into the center, into the very center, into the middle. Mr. Gilbert will pick those up. Okay, remember your homework in your lesson planner. Study LS8. Possible, not so pop quiz. Possible. On Wednesday, downhill day. So study it. Actually triple R it. Those 10 things that we went over, go over them. You might get the same 10 things tomorrow. It's possible. Now, I didn't even have time to go over any of the traits. I didn't even have time. How about doing 1? All right. Okay. Let's see. I'll do this. Okay. Let's see. All right. This is what is called a cleft chin. It's where you've got like a dent right there, a cleft chin, kind of a dent right there where it pushes in. Probably the bone structure goes in a little bit in the chin, and then the skin goes in too. Kind of a little dent right there. Thumb up if you have it, if you know you do. Thumb down if you don't. Turns out the cleft chin is dominant. It's a dominant trait. Dominant allele. Okay, I'll do a number. I'll try to do a number of those tomorrow. Okay, on Wednesday. So and get all of those done. So I'll try really hard. Go over a little bit more of LS8. Okay, so here's what I'd like to do. Mr. Gilbert is going to clarify anything, so we don't have that much time left, and then he's going to let. Maybe you've got 5 or 6 minutes. If that's the case, half of you are going to study LS8 for the remaining few minutes, and the other half of you are going to go to the back really quick, have a look at one of the microscopes, turn the light on. Okay, don't touch the focus, please. I focused super well on Saturday when I was here. Now, raise your hand if you're at one of the scopes and it's out of focus. They're supposed to be in focus. Please don't touch the focus. Please, please. It just causes big headache. Okay? So I'll turn it over to Mr. Gilbert. He'll clarify anything. If any of you have any questions about anything, your hand is up. Anything on LS8. And then he'll let you work on LS8 or do one of the microscope slide drawings in your journal. So journals are out, so you can do that. Okay, take it away, Mr. Gilbert. See you on Downhill Day.